This is Pivot Perspectives with Chris O'Byrne, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant people on the planet. Hear their stories and get the most important business lessons they've learned on their road to success, and get exclusive access on how to implement their success into your life and business. Pivot Perspectives is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board and your host, Chris O'Byrne.
Karen Young, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate it.
I would like to dig into one of my favorite questions, which is, what was a defining moment in your life that helped shape who you are today?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. I believe it was, in all honesty, second semester freshman year in college. I had changed from a business major, or I had changed from a music major to a business major because I was miserable as a music major. And I took an organizational psychology class as an elective. And the light bulb went on over my head. And from that moment, I knew that I wanted to do something with work and time management. And in essence, it's come down to being truly focused on work-life balance. And that's what led me to my career. I was blessed that second semester freshman year, I discovered what I wanted to do.
That does not surprise me that music didn't work out for you when you compare the two.
I know.
I know all sorts of good jokes about musicians.
Okay.
Like, what do you call a musician without a girlfriend?
I don't know.
Homeless?
That's a good one. I like that one. I like it. Yeah.
So then what was
good.
it that made you choose, thank you, what was it that made you choose HR as the approach? Because even with organizational development, psychology, all of those pieces that you enjoyed so much,
yes.
What made you choose specifically HR?
Well, back in the dark ages, when I graduated, it was personnel. And there was no such thing as a personnel major, so I did the whole business administration and psychology double major thing. And I want to say, so that was mid-'80s. I want to say late 80s is when it switched over to human resources. I just really liked the interaction and the thinking of how do the processes work? How do we get the most out of the people to do the processes? And then how are we good to the people so that we get more processes out of the people? And kind of taking a look at the whole structure and the analysis of a good workplace. It's funny, who knew it would become such a big deal today? My senior thesis in undergraduate was corporate cultures. That's back when there were 4 corporate cultures. There was Big Blue with IBM. I don't remember the names of the other ones, but I've truly become focused on creating cultures where employees want to come to work every day. So it's funny how it has all ended up tying in.
And it's funny that you mentioned that, because that was my next question is, did the corporate culture movement, per se, come from within the HR community originally?
I'm biased, so I'm going to say, well, yes, it did, as a matter of fact, because
But it seems logical.
It does, because HR really supports the policies and the procedures. So that's setting up the environment. That's setting up what's acceptable in the workplace, what isn't acceptable in the workplace. That's setting up accountability. Now it comes from leadership to really determine, is this the direction we want to go? Are these the things, is this the image we want to present? Like, I'll use IBM from back in the days when, IBM was the Apple of
Yes.
our earlier generation. And it was, the big deal was, if you were at IBM, you were in a suit, you were in a tie, you presented this very corporate image when you went out, because it was intended to relay expertise, perfection, analysis. it was the whole image was to reflect upon the work that the company did. So to have those things in place, you have to have solid policies and procedures that support that. You can't have a policy and procedure with a dress code that requires a suit and tie when you want to have a relaxed camaraderie Google environment. So the policy has to match the culture, and the culture has to, that they have to work together.
And have you seen a significant shift in, let's just say, business in general of improvement in the workplace for the workers, because of this increased awareness around culture?
I think that's a mixed bag. The optimist in me wants to say that in the post-COVID world, I know with a lot of our clients that had a very stringent, very strict culture and an environment struggled with the new reality. They struggled with allowing work from home. They were the ones that were questioning, how do I know if they're working? Well, they're supposed to work 8 to 5, but they're, putting their child down for a nap, so they're not at their desk. Oh my heavens, this is the end of the world. Those organizations really struggled coming through COVID. Now, our clients have thankfully survived and they've made the switch. But I still hear, Karen, how do I know that they're working? Or I just really don't believe, they have to come to work to be efficient. HR resolutions, we've learned we haven't been in an office building since 2018. I sold our building in 2018. Thank you. I sold it just in time. We are tremendously efficient, and I have seen the amount of work that we get done. And a lot of that is because our culture is, we don't care when you get the work done as long as the client is happy and the work is getting done. I had an employee ask my permission to go to her child's St. Patrick's Day parade at daycare. I'm like, first of all, of course. Secondly, if you ever ask me to do something like that again, you're fired. Go. Please go. And so it really, the biggest shift I have seen truly comes to having much more relaxed environments. But I always complain that when I have to go out to a client, I have to wear big girl clothes. Yeah. So I have made a commitment just to model for my staff that, I have upped my dress game a little. I've upped my dress game this year. So I'm ready at a moment's notice to go out and visit a client. But we don't need to do that to do good work. And I think that's the very important thing that a lot of companies have learned, that you don't have to have a suit and tie on to be a really successful salesperson. You don't have to have a 3-piece, suit on. Women don't have to be in a dress to sell Mary Kay anymore. I think that was a massive culture change. And with all due respect to any Mary Kay people that may be listening, that was huge when they went to where they could wear, dress pants. The quality, quantity, effort that you put into your work doesn't really have anything to do with the clothes that you're wearing. Now, if you are client and customer facing, of course, that's one thing, because you are representing the company. You're demonstrating the culture of the company. So I believe things have improved, and I believe that employers are more open-minded. I think that's the important thing. They're more open-minded to stopping and thinking, what do I need to do to keep my employees engaged and happy? So I say that, and then I just got a newsletter today from Gallup that says employee engagement is at an 11-year low. I know. So
Hmm.
maybe I'm just living in my happy little bubble that everybody at HR Resolutions is thrilled and we love what we do. Um, I don't think so, but I think the challenge is that the employers that didn't get onto this bus of we need to think about what our employees need, I think they're pulling the whole thing down. And they really need to stop and take a look. One of the blogs I keep threatening to write or promising to write is that it's culture, not cash. People leave their
Hmm.
managers, we know that. But people are going to leave a toxic culture for 10 cents, 25 cents more. And on an exit interview, it's very simple to say, I got more money. It's very easy to say that. It's very hard to say, the environment here is awful and I wish you all the best.
Hmm.
So our exit interviews always start with, when did you start to look for a new job? What prompted that? That's when we're able to dig down into the real root reason that people are leaving their jobs. And if it's not the manager, 99 out of 100 times it's the culture. You know, they're not flexible with my work schedule. They won't let me work at home. I can't get a day off. Anytime I ask for a day off, I'm made to feel badly. So,
Yes. Yeah. And then you run your business the way I run mine. And it took a while for them to kind of get get the picture.
yeah,
It's like, you if you need to take a day off, you let me know. If
yeah,
you need to, whatever you need to do, um, and more, of course, but you just let me know.
right.
And then still they would be like, well, is it okay if I take this day off? I'm like, I'm going to stop answering this question because,
Yeah,
and they've stopped. They're just let me know. Hey, I'm going to take off Friday afternoon. Cool. Thanks
yeah,
for letting me know.
yeah. And
That's
I
it.
do appreciate the respect that they show when they let you know.
Yes. Yeah. Because it is nice because once in a while it'd be like, oh, I've got to get a hold of them. Oh, nope, they're off. Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess it can wait.
yeah.
So I'm glad you brought up your company, HR Resolutions.
Yes.
What made you shift from working within another company
Yeah.
to starting your own?
So I became really so keep in mind that the dream child here went into HR for the personnel and HR for the whole work-life balance thing. And I worked my way up through organizations, got up to where I was a director and I reported to a senior vice president of HR. I worked in a big international corporate office. I had 7 HR specialists reporting to me. Now I'm a baby boomer, so you'd think that's the world. Oh my gosh, I've arrived. I was miserable. I missed the people part of HR. So
Mm,
got to a point where I worked down in organizations, but I had that knowledge of how, the corporate office works. I got really disillusioned with corporate America and with the employers that I had worked for, and just decided that I was going to give it a try. And our focus is on the small business who's too small to have their own HR manager. And frankly, what I've learned, they need the HR support more than the big companies who have the layers of lawyers, who have, they have, Sarbanes Oxley, they have global regulations that they have to follow. It's the small guys like myself. When I started my company, I knew HR. I didn't know the first thing about running a company. I didn't know about IT, marketing, sales. Um, I'm finding that with the majority of our clients. They know their product, they know their expertise. But when it comes to this finessing of dealing with the employee who has an illness out of nowhere, or dealing with we call them the problem children. 20% of our workforce gives it, those statistics still hold true. 20% of our workforce gives us 80% of our headaches. And these business owners that are experts in their field can be completely thrown by, how do I deal with this person? Then they hear the fear mongering from all their friends and from social media and from media about the laws and the regulations, and this company was sued by the Equal Opportunity Commission for hundreds of thousands of dollars. So they become almost paralyzed in doing anything about this problem children because they're afraid. They don't know that they can. Now, we're not attorneys, but we help them realize that they've got options. Some of them just, they're not people. They're manufacturers. They're focused on the process. They're focused on quality. They're not focused on the people. So we help soften them up a little bit. We work with them. We work with the employees to try to help them understand, hey, this is why you need to come in on time. I know your boss has been harassing you about coming to work on time. A, that's not really harassment. B, they're allowed to do it. C, here's why they need to do it. So HR often gets the bad egg from both sides. Corporate is saying, "Oh, you're too employee friendly." Employees are saying, "Oh, you work for the man. You work for the company." HR works for the organization. That's how I always like to define it. If it weren't for the organization, Chris, you wouldn't have a job. Chris, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't have a company. So we need to work through this together. And that's where I see HR's responsibilities coming. How do we get the two sides to work together? Absolutely. Sometimes I have to be on the side of the employer. I have to say, Chris, you need to come to work on time. We've had 10 discussions about this. If you miss work again, you may lose your job. I have to have that conversation sometimes. Other times I have to go to the employer and say, you can't keep denying vacation time and then say we can't roll it over. You can't do that. And they're going to say, well, where's the law that says I can't do that? And they're right in most states. They can. But that's where HR needs to then be the advocate for the employee. So it's a very, very difficult line that we walk. And for some odd reason, I love it. Yeah.
What are the biggest problems you usually see?
I think the biggest problem, and this, I would say that this can probably go up to large organizations as well. People are afraid to hold others accountable. And it's for a lot of reasons. Number one is we don't want to hurt somebody's feelings when it comes right down to it. Even if it's somebody that doesn't like dealing with people, they don't want to hurt somebody's feelings by saying, you did not meet my expectations. So they don't want to hurt their feelings. It's hard. It's a lot easier to just fix it than to, Chris, we need to sit and talk about this again. I want to walk through this one more time with you. Well, that takes more of my effort and energy to do that. So it's hard. We don't want to hurt their feelings. We're afraid to say anything because they might sue us. Maybe they don't look like us, so they might sue us because I'm disciplining them. And coaching isn't disciplining. Coaching is coaching and mentoring. And so my work and our work, because it's not just me any longer, our work is to help our managers, leaders, supervisors understand you don't need to go to discipline right away. Go to coaching, go to mentoring, go to best line I ever learned in my life was actually in marriage counseling, because when I got married, my husband's daughters were 13 and 16. I'll just leave that in everybody's brain. Okay. Best phrase I ever learned was help me understand. Chris, everybody wants to be understood. Everybody wants you to understand their position. So if an employee has done something that I disagree with or isn't the HRR way, my first question is, can you help me understand? I want to give them the opportunity. Maybe they found a better way. So having that conversation. But then, also the first time out, I take responsibility. What? Melissa, I must not have explained that correctly to you. Let me walk through it again. I'm going to ask you a couple questions. I want you to ask me questions as we go through it. At the end, I'm going to ask you to recap to me what we've agreed to. And then when I've done that, I know that I have explained it. And I know, because she's repeated back to me, that she's repeated back the expectation. At that point, if she doesn't meet it, I'm not doing her any favors by fixing it. And I'm working with someone right now that I'm mentoring, that I'm like, you are not doing him any favors by letting him continue to get away with this. Now, he's probably not intentionally trying to get away with anything, but he clearly doesn't understand his responsibilities. That's so clear. And by you covering for him, by fixing his mistakes, he's not going to improve. He's going to keep falling back on, Karen will fix it for me. So accountability is that's the number one. And
Yeah,
it's
I
hard.
could.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You talked about listening. I heard a good quote about deep listening this morning: to listen to understand, not to respond.
Mm.
I'm like, oh my goodness, how many times have I listened merely so I can respond, not because I'm trying to understand?
Right. And you've probably
You
formed
know?
the answer in your mind already.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. It was a good eye opener,
Yeah.
a good reminder. So what are what do you typically offer or do for companies when you're working for them?
Sure. Um, we go to service in a couple different ways. The initial service when I started out was literally as needed. Now I don't talk about that too much anymore when I'm meeting with prospects and new clients, simply because it really isn't practicable on our side. It doesn't give them the ability to budget for HR. But I still, because it's the heart and soul of how HR resolution started. And an example might be somebody has an unemployment claim. They're not sure how to respond. They believe they should win. So my job, our job, is to help them present the business side of it to the unemployment office so that they have a better chance of winning the claim. Now, unemployment it's just an oddball. Some days it goes on the employer side, other days it goes on the employee side. I haven't figured out what the magic answer is there. I don't know that there is one. But that's an example of somebody that, they don't get that many unemployment claims. They don't have that many issues through the year. They've got a smaller staff. Everything's in good control. It wouldn't make sense for them to invest any more in their HR because they know they have a resource available if and when they need it. Now, if anything increases, if they start having more and more problems, they may bring us in on a larger engagement. But that's okay. I want small businesses to get HR help without having to go to an attorney, because some stuff you don't. Sorry, attorney friends out there. I love attorneys, and we have a huge yellow streak down our back. We're the first ones to say, it's time to call the attorney. That's over our heads.
Yeah.
But there is that middle of the road where we can really help. And I try, a lot of companies look at the combined experience of all their staff. And I've added that up sometime, and it's some huge number. But the important thing is we are all experienced. We all have worked in large companies. So we all get it. And the one thing that we do get better than some of our peers and better than a lot of our competitors is we get that our clients have a business to run. So there's an operational aspect to their challenges that we factor in. We're not just quoting, well, here's what the regulation says, so you need to do that. We're helping them figure out without breaking the law. That we walk away. And I have walked away from a client already who said, well, I'm not going to do that. And they knew perfectly well it was the law. We walk away. but giving them their options, because there's gray areas. It took me so long in my profession to learn that it's not all black and white, because I came in through
Mhm.
payroll, which is black and white. Payroll is payroll is payroll. There's things you have to meet for payroll.
Yeah.
It took me a while to adapt to the gray. But I like to explain to our smaller clients that we work just like a large company human resource department does. We have an HR strategist, which would be your highest level, a chief human resource officer or a vice president of human resources if we were in a big company. I have a director of HR who's responsible for kind of that middle of the road, the bigger projects or problems that arise. We have HR managers that are responsible for the day-to-day work for our clients. And we have an HR specialist who's responsible for the administration, the benefits administration, unemployment claim filing.
Okay.
We bring an entire big company HR department to our clients, but only the pieces and the parts that they need when they need them.
So if you were to choose an ideal company for you, what would that company look like?
Oh my goodness. So I worked with a strategist this year. So I'm an HR person. I'm not a business person. I worked with a strategist this year, and he had me take a look at my mix of business so I could define the ideal client. I'm like, great. We are
Yes.
across all industries, professional services, manufacturing, construction, um, professional services. We cross the realm. So next I looked at company size. A third of our clients are 50 to 99 employees, or 50 plus. A third of our clients are 21 to 49, and a third of our clients are less than 10. Sweet spot really is the 40 to 60 headcount employer, because then it does make sense for them to retain us as their HR department. So there's a fixed budget. We just do the whole HR thing for them. And under those circumstances, I can really show the return on investment based upon if they would have even just a senior degreed certified HR professional. I can show them how much money they are saving, and I can demonstrate the return on investment for them for that 40 to 60 group. But frankly, if I worked my brain a little bit harder, I could do the same with all of our clients. But that 40 to 60, I can absolutely, out of the gate, show them how they can get a big time HR department for pennies on the dollar. And we're
That
not
is
inexpensive.
significant.
We're not inexpensive. We're not the most expensive, but we're not the least expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a significant service. So
yeah.
let's see, I'm gonna change gears just a little bit, and I want to ask about your book.
Ah, yes.
So it's called Sought After: How
Yes.
to Be Heard, Be Trusted, and Be Recognized for Your Expertise.
Yes.
Tell
Uh,
me all about that.
sure. That's my leadership book. That was my first, and my publisher said it was the book I was born to write. I think the next one
Uh,
that's coming out is the one I was born to write, but Sought After, really, that was born when I walked off of my first national stage. I'm a national speaker now. I'm regularly speaking at the Society for Human Resource Managers annual international conference. And the first time I walked off the stage, I was like, oh my God, I have to do this again. And then I started thinking, why are people paying me to talk? Why is my national association, why is my room booked? Why are they coming to, I'm a South Central Pennsylvania girl. Why are people coming to hear me? And I broke it down into, there are 4 building blocks that I've theorized to become sought after. They're the ones that have worked for me. The first one is know your stuff. Well, I know human resources. I will put me in a human resource bowl with anybody and I'm going to run over them. I'm going to win. Second is, know your business. And I don't just mean the profit and loss. I don't just mean the accounting part of the business. Understand the business. If I were working for a corporation, I would want to understand, how do we make money? How do we lose money? Where are we leaking money? I want to understand the operational aspects of the business, because if I don't, my customers aren't going to trust me with the information I give. I hear a lot of times that HR people are the Department of No. That hurts me when I hear that, because we are the Department of Yes, within reason. But we always factor in the operational piece. So know your stuff, know their stuff, know how to communicate. I focus a lot on the DISC scale. So the DISC, domineering, influential, steady relator, cautious thinker. I may have the 4 titles wrong, but you get the idea. I'm a high I, I'm a high D. So I'm like always, I'm the party waiting to happen. That doesn't work with people that are steady relators or are cautious thinkers. They need somebody that's going to speak more slowly with them. They need someone that's going to supply the details ahead of time. They need someone that's going to tell them what they need to know before they even know they need to know it. That is such a statement. So that's a third piece. Know how to communicate. So be able to speak to your audience. And then the fourth one is embrace change. Because our world, whether you like it or not, our world is changing. Our business world is changing. Our work world is changing. Our personal life is changing. Everything changes. So embrace it. You don't have to agree with it. And the big thing I call out in the book is it is absolutely okay to disagree with the CEO. CEO read the latest, they've read Sought After, and now they want everybody to follow those principles. You may not agree with that. And it is absolutely okay to go tell the CEO in private that you don't agree. But Chris, when you walk out that door, you better be a cheerleader. So that's what I'm trying to get across in that embrace change. If you don't agree, discuss what you don't agree, but do it in private. Do not be a public naysayer, because you will not garner anyone's trust under those circumstances. So those are the 4 things that I put together that made me realize that's why I'm able to stand on a stage. That's why I'm able to I have a best-selling HR book as well. That's why I'm able to have those books, because I am sought after. I've earned it, but I've worked hard for it, and I continue to work hard for it. I think the closing premise in the book is it's ongoing learning. Find out which of those building blocks you're not the most comfortable in, and work on that. When you get comfortable in that one, come to the next one. It's ongoing, so that you continue to stay on top of your game and continue to be sought after.
So when you wrote the book, what were your goals at that time for the book?
Well, it was very cathartic for me, because I write stories. I write about all the career defining moments that I had, that at the time that they all happened, I was like, oh, these are career killers. But they turned into career defining for me. So part of it was, it truly was cathartic. And I put in the opening, this is either going to ruin me or it's going to be cathartic for me. And thankfully it was cathartic. But my goal really was to demonstrate that HR isn't just HR. We're bigger than HR. We can be bigger than HR, but also to get in. One of my goals was to break out of just being an HR speaker, because I am a successful business owner. I do run a successful business. My business has grown every year since I started. So getting into the leadership realm and really getting the message across that you need to work to be heard. Just because you have a degree or a certification letters behind your name, it's no guarantee that somebody's going to listen to you. You need to earn the listen. Ooh, I might have to I may need to coin that.
Write that one down.
Yeah. We can share that one, Chris. Need to earn the listen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, has your book helped your business? Has it helped you grow your business? Has it helped you get more speaking gigs? How has it worked for you?
It has really established me as a speaker. Okay. And, you know, I am more marketable now as a speaker because I've demonstrated now that I can talk about stuff other than HR. It boggles my
Yes.
mind. But now that I have the book, I can clearly speak about other things. So it has opened the door. It has gotten me into things other than HR. It's gotten me into the Meeting Planners Association, where I've been able to go and help them. It comes down to I want to touch and help as many people as I can. So this has widened the ability for me to do that.
Opened up a lot of
It
doors.
has. It has. It's given me more confidence also as a speaker because, like, oh, I can talk about stuff other than HR. So that was a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy as well, probably.
So then, who would you say is the best reader? What kind of person would get? It doesn't even have to be the best.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of person would get the most out of reading your book?
I'd suggest anybody that's mid-career. Well, it's good for everybody. It's good for somebody that's just starting out because they can set some goals. This is what I need to strive for. But I think the ones that can get the most impact out of it are those that are mid-career. They might be stagnated right now. They may have gotten to an HR director position, but they've just not had the there I go back to HR. So they may have gotten director of marketing, but they've just not gotten the opportunity to get to that vice president of marketing or chief marketing officer. So they're right there. And they don't understand why they're not playing with the bigger dogs yet. So I think that group of individuals, I'd also suggest leaders. If you want to find a way to help your up and coming, if you find a way to help identify in your succession plan, have your staff, you read the book so that you understand it, and then have your staff read the book as well and watch and see who models and learns from it. So, and like
Okay.
I said, entry level, it gives them something. This is what I need to be focused on.
Yes.
I just
You
saw,
can't start too early.
yeah, I just saw my first HR mentor. She was my first real HR boss. I just had lunch with her last week. And to this day, I still look at her and I'm there. I don't know how you put up with me. Because I was one of those, I was one of those college kids that I had a college degree. I knew it. I was great. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything. I do not, God bless her. I don't know how and she just laughs at me now.
Yep, she
Yeah,
knew.
she
She
did.
knew, but she saw the potential at the
She
same
did.
time.
Yeah, she did.
So, what lessons did you learn in the writing and publishing part of your book? Or to put it in another way, what advice can you give someone else who's going through the same thing?
Set realistic deadlines and schedule it. Schedule time. Make it as important as a client. If you are writing and you are under deadline or before you're even under deadline, put it on your calendar, schedule it, make it as holy as a client appointment. Make it as holy as a doctor's appointment. It's not breakable. It isn't, because you will fall behind on your timeline. Writer's block is a real thing. Oh my gosh. I broke mine, and my publisher helped me find this. I broke mine by getting out of my environment. I cannot write sitting at my office. If I'm sitting at my
Ah,
office, I'm in my HR brain. I'm not in my writer brain.
yeah.
Okay. My email is right there. My Teams is right there. To break my writer's block, I had started I would go to the public library. They're not quiet places anymore. Who
No,
knew?
they're not.
They are not. I ended up, to really break my writer's block, and I remember it was at Christmas time, and I went to of course, I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, so we're right by Hershey. I went to the Hershey Lodge. They have this beautiful lobby area with a full circle fire, so you can sit any place around the fire. They've got a nice little bar there that's open in the evenings. Wasn't open when I was there, but it's just a nice sit and relax area. I went there and whoosh, took off. That's what I needed. I needed
a little bit
to
of search to
completely,
find it, but you found it.
yeah, I needed to be completely out of my element, and I needed to be someplace where I could relax and get out of my own way.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really think that's what writer's block is. You're overthinking it. You're in your own way. So,
Now, you let
yeah,
it slip that you're working on another book.
I
I'd like
am.
to hear about that.
Oh, this is the tell-all, Chris. Everybody's already lining up for it. They tell me. So we'll see when pre-sales happen. The next book is, the working title is Outrageous People in the Workplace. It is the tell-all. I'm changing names.
Oh,
Changing names, but I'm not changing the stories. I am telling the real world stories about what happens. And the approach I'm going to take, of course, I'm going to tell the story, going to tell what happened in the moment, how it was resolved, how we came to that resolution, what happened. And then I'm going to do the analysis from an operational standpoint, from a financial standpoint, from a culture standpoint, because I want to get the point across to people that these outrageous people hurt the business. And the sooner we either hold them accountable and get them aligned with our culture, or help them find a new career, the better we all are. So again, I don't want to approach it from an HR standpoint. There will be HR in it because that's all, it's involved in the decisions. But I want to approach it. I want to make the case that it's not only HR, it's not only the regulations, it's not only the policies and procedures, it's the culture, it's the operation, it's efficiencies, it's every piece, it touches every piece of the business. And we have to be more attuned to that. So, yeah, that's going to be the fun one to write. I do think sought after.
yeah, people are going to love that.
But this is going to be the fun one to write. Yeah.
Yeah, people are going to love it.
Yeah, spring of 2025. Actually, early spring.
So,
I'm hoping for a March 18th release.
well, yeah, just make sure you stick to your schedule. Don't
Yes.
fall behind.
Put it on my calendar. Yeah. It's funny. I'm actually at the point where it is time to start calendaring the events. Because I really, wow. You're going to talk about pushing a deadline on sought after. I am sitting in a Sandler client summit in Florida. That was 2 days before it had to be to the printer to hit a March 18th deadline.
Oh my
And
goodness.
the publisher editor was still sending me final edits. I was completely unfocused at the Sandler Client Summit because I was just, and then by the time it was all done, I was exhausted for the second day of the conference. So there's no doing that again. I learned the hard way.
Yeah.
I was kind of curious if all authors of multiple books do learn that the hard way. Cool.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
But there was a reason I wanted
They
to
learn
do
that, and
Yeah.
scheduling is huge when it comes to writing.
Yeah.
So, other than that,
Yeah.
what parting words of wisdom do you have?
Well, there's a guy on TikTok that I don't want to steal his phrase, but one of the things that I end sought after with is that we have to really enjoy the work that we do because we spend too much time in it. And I want to encourage everybody to have the courage. If you're not happy, have the courage to find what happy means to you and pursue it, because I am living the dream personally, professionally, as an author, as a business owner. I'm living the dream. I have found my happy. And so the phrase is corny, but work doesn't seem like work when you love what you're doing.
Yeah.
So find your happy. Garner up the courage one way or another. I was the breadwinner when I left corporate America to start HR resolutions. It was terrifying. But my husband retired from my company last year, and we're 19 plus years heading toward our 20th anniversary. So find the courage, because it's worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something worked out.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And where's the best place for people to go to learn more about you?
To learn more about me, it's best to go to KarenAYoung.com. That has all my speaking stuff. It has sizzle reels from both keynotes. It has access to finding the books. So the email would be info, I-N-F-O, at KarenAYoung.com, or the website, KarenAYoung.com.
Perfect.
Okay.
Karen, thank you so much for coming on today.
Chris, thank you for having me. It's been an honor.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Pivot Perspectives with your host, Chris O'Byrne. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advice on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we will see you on the next episode.